Small Operations Podcast, Episode 3, First Conversation. Small Operations. Well, hello there, everybody, and welcome back to the Small Operations Podcast. I'm your host, Field Plan, and I remain super excited to be doing this and spending this time with you. We're going to hear some music today from Steeezo, Squarepulse. We got some Golden Temples from their new EP, Sentient Beings. A really beautiful piece from Heymun. We'll hear from Blumquist. We'll have a conversation with Jeremy Blake of Red Means Recording. Super excited about that. And plenty of other great music. So let's get this going. I want to start this show off right by playing some legit music. First up, we got some tunes from Steeezo, Steeezo out of Japan. Steeezo is an OG beatmaker using his armada of OP1s. I grabbed a couple things of Steeezo's off of Instagram. Let's give a listen to his jam, April 6th, 2018. Steeezo makes such good stuff, man. It's really got like a dirtiness, got a funk to it. The samples that he uses, just the textures. Really, really good stuff. I want to hear another one. This is a January track, #January, from this year. Steeezo called it Jan 2nd HPNY. Happy New Year. Let's give it a listen. Just really, really good stuff. So guys, follow Steeezo on Instagram, and don't forget it's 3 E's in Steeezo, at STEEEZO_946, at Steeezo_946 on Instagram. Look him up, check out his stuff, really, really good. Next up, we got a track from Squarepulse. This is Naturale. Squarepulse is out of the San Francisco Bay Area. That was Au Naturale. Squarepulse is on Instagram. You'll have to follow him as dev_a_f. That's DEV_a_f. He goes by DevAF. So look him up on Instagram. Check out his YouTube channel. I'm going to put the link in the show notes. And please go check out some more Squarepulse. So a little bit of news. On August 2nd, Rolling Stone magazine put out an article written by James Schiff. It's part of a series Rolling Stone recommends, and they review products, talk about different things music related. The title of the article is The Best Synthesizers Under $200. And the subtitle is From Pint-Sized Pocket Operators and Korgs to the More Robust Nectar, here are our 4 favorite synths under $200. The article starts off with a little bit of a history of synthesizers, just a brief overview of synthesizers, talking about Bob Moog and such. The interesting thing is, you've got a list of the Rolling Stones picks for best synth under $200. Number 1 on that list is Teenage Engineering's Pocket Operator 35, Speak. So I'll read you a little bit about what the article says here about the Pocket Operator 35. Designed and built in Sweden, this synth looks more like a lo-fi cross between a Game Boy and a calculator. But don't be fooled by its simple exterior. The PO35 packs a ton of features in its unassuming package. With 16 unique patterns, a minor drum kit, and the ability to record your voice or other sample, the PO35 allows for robust music making in the palm of your hand. Play live or record patterns with the built-in samples, change the pitch, BPM, and use filters, or record 8-second clips from your own samples, your voice or otherwise, using the built-in mic, and suddenly this tiny machine is capable of anything. The little review of the PO35 goes on to say, though Teenage Engineering makes a whole slew of these pocket operators, we like the PO35 for its ability to record voice samples. As small and compact as they are, though, they can be a little confusing, which is why we recommend watching a walkthrough like this one from Red Means Recording. So that's pretty cool. We'll talk to Jeremy Blake from Red Means Recording here in a little bit. So yeah, pretty neat, TE. You were the number 1 synthesizer under $200 in Rolling Stone magazine. So that's pretty good. Within the span of a couple weeks, you got a feature article in the New York Times, followed up by a feature article in Rolling Stone is one of the best you can get. So, not too shabby. You guys, I had a chance a little bit earlier this week to have a conversation with Neil Ritchie from synthDawg.com. We were talking about tips and tricks and making that a segment on small operations. We got in a conversation about his excellent, I don't know if you guys have heard of the OP1 notebook. So Neil Ritchie does a series of how-to books and kind of like a idiot's guide or a guide for dummies for different types of synthesizers and electronic music stuff. One of them that's near and dear to my heart, and I'm sure yours as well, is the OP1 notebook. It's fantastic. You should definitely check it out. A lot of good tips and tricks. I'm gonna try as much as possible or as hard as possible to get Neil Ritchie to be a part of the show, even if it's every now and then. I'm trying to maybe woo him into doing a tips and tricks segment that we feature every now and then on the show. I think that'd be really good. He's very knowledgeable, and his book, OP1 Notebook, is great. So just a little bit of plug for that because he's been supportive. Check out SynthDawg.com. That's SynthDawg.com. SynthDawg.com. Check out the OP1 notebook, and maybe he's done a guide for some of the other stuff that you have as well. Okay, homies, next up we got some music from Golden Temples. They're out of Norway, and they have an EP out, relatively new EP that dropped called Sentient Beings. It's available on Spotify and Apple Music, Amazon, all that stuff. You want to check it out? Right now we're going to hear a song, Ancient Relics. This is Golden Temples. Really great tune. So again, that was Golden Temples with Ancient Relics from their Sentient Beings EP. You want to check that out, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon. Check them out on Instagram as well. I'm going to put a link in the notes for the podcast. You can find them. Definitely go seek out some Golden Temples. Great stuff. So I was thinking about it a little bit earlier this week, sitting at work, and I'm thinking about the podcast and content to put on here. And as I'm kind of like, flipping through Instagram, I'm thinking, there's a lot of great music. A lot of you are making some really cool stuff and sharing it on Instagram. But I'm starting to wonder with the OPZ, how many of you are actually messing with the visual functions and the multimedia functions? I just wanted to see how many people are out there using the Photomatic or the Video Lab, Unity side of the OPZ. And if you are, put something up on Instagram, tag Small Operations, and let's see it. I can share it if you'd like me to. I would definitely love to do that. Kind of curious to see how many are actually using that, and if anyone's even using that as a backdrop for their show. If they're doing music and you have animations and stuff in the background, I'd love to see it. Tag me on Instagram. Next up, we got some music from Ciutadellla from Barcelona, Spain. I believe that's how you say it. It's Ciutadella. So I would kind of figure it's Ciutadellla. So this is Ciutadella's July 27th, 2019, Underwater. guys, please look into Ciutadellla on the internets. You can find him on Instagram. Don't forget the spelling is Ciuttadlla. Ciutadellla, I believe is how you say it. So he used on that last piece OPZ, used an Electron Digitone, and he used a Zoom MS-70 effects pedal to get some of those nice post-processing things happening. Really good stuff. Ciutadellla does some really cool artwork that you'll see, some photo and stuff, digital manipulation of photos that you can find on his Instagram. Definitely check him out. Well, guys, I'm really excited to have today's guest on the show. This is our first interview, or my first interview and first conversation on small operations. And it's really exciting because this gentleman is someone who inspired me and actually was one of the big factors in me getting an OP1 and getting into teenage engineering stuff in general. He has quite literally hundreds of thousands of followers on YouTube, subscribers, and people that wait drooling for his next video to drop. His YouTube channel is Red Means Recording. I'm sure you all know it well. Mr. Jeremy Blake, how you doing today, man?
Hey, I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so Jeremy, are you ready for some hard-hitting journalism right off the bat?
Yes.
Super serious.
Uh-oh.
What is your favorite breakfast cereal? Go.
Breakfast cereal favorite. I like a good granola.
Wow.
Yeah. A little bit of fruit in it, maybe. Like that's my jam.
Yeah, that sounds good. The healthy approach. I can dig it. I'm kind of like a sugary cereals guy, you know, colorful. Like the more sugary, unhealthy, the better. But I'm definitely down with, you know, the granola, you know, some honey and yogurt.
It's delicious.
So Jeremy, everybody knows you for your videos on YouTube and the series that you've done, Red Means Recording, stuff you've done with the OP1 and a lot of different types of electronic devices, and kind of like a tutorial, you know, meets here's how I write songs type of thing. I was kind of hoping today to get a little bit into your music and,
sure,
you know, kind of your upbringing musically and stuff like that, if that's cool with you. So you got into music when you were in middle school?
Elementary school, actually, was when I first picked it up.
Right on, and I think I heard in other videos that you were a flute player.
Yeah, that was what I started on with, was the flute.
That's cool. All right, look forward to hearing some tutorial videos in Red Means Recording for flute. Do you still play?
No, I developed sort of a severe allergy to my flute. Not like a metaphorical allergy. Around the time that I went to college for it and stopped playing it, and then sold it probably about 4 years ago. So yeah, I just decided it wasn't for me anymore, and it had served its purpose, and it was time to pass it along to somebody who was better going to use it.
Right on. No, I get it. Yeah, I'm a saxophone player.
Oh, cool.
And I've kind of been up and down over the years with the horn and stuff. So before you got into electronic music, did you play in like bands and stuff? You know, guitar or a keyboard or anything like that?
I did. Yeah. I mean, besides school stuff, like we had my middle school band teacher was this guy named Mr. Roberts. He was phenomenal and very instrumental in getting me into the kind of music that I'm able to play now. So he introduced me to playing some keyboard stuff. And then much later, I was in a band. I was, here in Seattle with this girl named Carrie Beal who played guitar. Very talented. I think she's still doing music.
Cool.
But yeah, that's pretty much the extent of my like playing in bands thing. But yeah, it was fun.
Nice. So Jeremy, you're from Seattle. Did you grow up in Seattle or Washington?
I mostly grew up in Tacoma, which is about 30 minutes south of here. Spent some time on the East Coast, then some time in the Bay Area, and then moved back here with my partner about 5 years ago.
Okay, right on.
Yeah.
So like, what got you into electronic music? Was there like a big scene where you were from growing up, or were there other people that were into it that kind of helped get you into it?
It was a lot of self-interest. It was predominantly self-interest. I've had a few opportunities now and then to be like adjacent to communities that are producing, but I've never really been part of a like scene like that. When I was living in the Bay Area, I was briefly hanging out with a lot of people that were into psytrance, which was a genre that I was really stoked on for a while. And that was about as close as I got. We would talk about production now and then, but mostly I've just been doing this on my own and trying to figure out what I need to do to make what is in my head.
Cool. So were you like a DAW guy, or did you start off experimenting with keyboards or, electronic hardware?
I started on a program called Fast Tracker 2, which was a tracking program, which was actually really cool. And then moved to Fruity Loops, like back when it was like 3.1. I don't think it even had VST support. And then stuck with Fruity Loops throughout a few versions until it became FL Studio. And I mean, that was my jam for a long time. And then one day I was like, let me give Ableton a try. And I downloaded like a cracked version of it and used it a lot. I mean, it became my DAW of choice until one day it was like, the crack stopped working, and I was like in the middle of working on something, and I'm like, fuck, I need to finish this. So I ended up buying a legit copy of Ableton, and that's been a great investment. I've never regretted like actually going legit with that. I mean, that's been my DAW of choice since then.
Oh, that's cool. Now we have a very similar path. I started out on Fruity Loops too, and my buddy Dave gave me like a cracked copy, and I used to get like CDs and like hunt Craigslist for CDs of loops and stuff like that. You remember getting like CDs of loops?
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I had a ton of loop CDs, yeah. Did you ever buy like Computer Music or Future Music magazine back in the day? And it came with like
Computer Music and Future Music.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Came with the CDs that had like free VSTs and like loops on them. I was like, I lived for those things. Those were amazing.
Oh, me too. I totally. Yeah. So I remember it was actually one of those magazines, I think it was Computer Music, that had a feature magazine. It was all about Ableton Live, and that was, right about when I was hearing about it, and I got really like amped up to get Ableton. I just dropped everything else and figured I have to get Ableton Live. That's like going to be my main jam. So I used to use like Logic and even Cubase for a while, but once I got into Ableton, everything else was like, forget it.
So you're using Ableton now?
Yep. Yeah, Ableton is the best, man. It's like totally it was a game changer for me and, for so many other people.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Totally. So Jeremy, if you don't mind, man, the theme of the podcast, Small Operations, is teenage engineering stuff and the people who use their stuff to make music. So we all know you use other equipment by other manufacturers as well. I hope you don't mind if I kind of ask you a bunch of questions about TE stuff.
No, it's all good.
Okay, sweet. So let's get into it a little bit.
Let's go.
Right on. So when did you first hear about the OP1? And when did you get your OP1 and why?
I don't remember where I heard about it, but I remember, so I got mine in 2012, and I remember I must have seen it in a magazine or seen it online. I must have seen it online. And I was reading about it, and it burrowed its way into my head as something I absolutely needed to get. It was the most expensive piece of gear I'd ever bought. Back then it was about $900. And I remember watching it come from Sweden and freaking out about, the imports and all that kind of stuff. And then, I did not regret it from the moment I got my hands on it. But yeah, it was one of it was like a fetish object. It was just like nothing else existed like that. And to an extent still doesn't,
Yeah, no. I remember I was introduced to your videos on YouTube and stuff, and I saw the OP1, I saw what it can do, and I thought, okay, this cat's doing all this stuff with the OP1. I see the way he's laying it out. This thing can pretty much do everything. It's like a miracle device, so I have to get one too. The only thing with me is I started with the gateway drug, the pocket operator.
Oh, yeah. Which pocket operators did you get?
I started out with the factory, was that the PO16?
Yeah.
And then I kind of went from there and have gone crazy since. So Jeremy, what was it about the OP1 that inspired you to do the types of videos that you do, the stuff that you've become really popular for on YouTube?
Well, it was a fluke. The first... There's two old OP1 videos. One of them is just like... Well, actually, let me scratch that. Basically, the Love is Blind video, which was sort of like just a random thing I decided to do one day. The subtitles it's a very underdeveloped style if you go back and look at that first one. And then I did it, and then I think it was 9 months to a year later, all of a sudden, it must have gotten posted somewhere because it started racking up, for me at that point, a lot of views. It went up to over 10,000 or something like that. Like, I don't know. It was enough for me to take notice. And I'm like, okay, this is interesting. At that point, I had no intention of actually participating in YouTube in the way that I'm doing now. That's also been sort of an organic process. So I wasn't really thinking of like, let's develop my YouTube channel. I was like, okay, well, people seem to like this, so let me try another one. And I think the second one was Nicotine. Again, back in the day, these were like, they were very, oh no, it was Requiescence, that's right. So it was just sort of this random thing that I would do like maybe every 2 months. And as it became more of a thing, it went from let's discuss the process of what's happening from with a little bit of humor to sort of this meta monster because even though I was doing other stuff on the channel, it was very clear that people were really mostly there for that particular type of video. So by the time we get to I Need You, which is sort of like the biggest OP1 video on the channel and the one that most people find me through, I was kind of just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I felt really, really sort of pigeonholed by it. So we had gone from just sort of basically describing a process to describing a process and my mindset at the same time because I was commenting on thinking about the process itself. And that's been the formula, and it's fine. I went back to it recently, and it was actually a lot of fun. So I'm going to try to knock more out, like one a month now, just because it's a kind of a cathartic process, you know, and it's a really, really easy way to make a song for me because I just like blow through the recording, which is like 90% of the hard part, and then I just get to bring it into Ableton and like mess around with it and do the fun editing and stuff like that.
For sure.
A lot of people are like, can you do a video like the OP1 but with the Digitect? Can you do this with the Deluge? And the thing about the OP1 is that tape recording process, that linear tape recording process, being able to like, okay, I made a section, now I'm going to move on to the next section. You can't do that with a sequencer-based thing quite as well. So I am going to give it a try at some point, but like it's really sort of the linear progression that the OP1 presents with the tape recording thing that makes this entire thing possible.
Yeah, totally. So are you, I think you're like me, of the generation where you started experimenting with 4 tracks when you started making music?
I wish. No, I still want to get one, actually. But no, it's the same idea.
So let me know your thoughts about the OPZ.
I think the OPZ is a really, really amazing tool. They took everything about the pocket operators, put it in a better case, and made it better. So a lot of people are like, which one should I get, the OP1 or the OPZ? Is the OPZ a replacement for the OP1? It's not in any way. They're completely different.
Agree.
So like, yeah, I mean, I've done 2 full like hour-long sets with the OPZ. That's impossible to do on the OP1. And I mean, right now the OPZ is still sort of sitting in its case because I've been working on other stuff, but I want to come back to it, and I know what it does now, so I just need to be able to prepare a bunch of kits for it, and then I'll be able to do another hour-long set that I could come back to as a live performance if I ever wanted to. I can't do that with the OP1. It's just such a different beast, and the performance effects are amazing. It's really cool.
Yeah, one of the coolest things that I find about the OPZ is just the fact that it lets you just sit down, and because of the sequencer, you know, which really differs a lot from the OP1 with the tape and all that, is it lets you just kind of like sit down and create stuff kind of in the moment and just start jamming with the sequencer itself and the sounds that it, you know, the preset sounds.
It just makes something on the fly, yeah.
Right, so you took some time away from the OP1 videos, and you know, you made some videos using some other hardware like the Electron stuff and lots of other stuff, but were you feeling any burnout with the OP1 at all?
Well, so I definitely did feel burnt out with it around the time that I took the break. I was sort of just painting by numbers at that point. Coming back to it's been interesting because the last video that I just did, what was it called?
I can't remember, but it was good.
Oh, it was a Leo Star thing. I can't remember. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. I did not put any of my presets on it. That was like a factory reset OP1. So only being dependent on the internal presets and what I could like come up with on the fly, it made me realize how limited the sound engines can be. Unless you've actually spent some time to wrangle them into what you want. But that said, I was still able to pull something off, which was really cool.
Totally.
I do think that the sound engines have a shelf life. Like they can sound a little sort of cheap, very, very digital. But I think the OP1 redeems itself with the sampler aspect of it, because you could just treat it like an NPC if you wanted to and just do everything with samples. And I mean, that means it could sound like anything, really. So.
I'm curious what your thoughts are on the price of the OP1 these days.
I really don't quite understand I don't really quite understand the amount of jump that they did with it. I think if anything, yeah, that's pretty much all I can say. I don't want to really talk shit about TE because I'm stoked that they are a small company doing what they do. Capitalism in the way that the free market in the world sort of thing, not as a general idea, but the way that it expresses itself now with the way it can squeeze out smaller businesses because some product line can change or some production line can change, that sucks. Now, so I guess what the thing they said was that over the years has gotten more expensive to make it. You would think it'd be the other way around, but I also, who knows, if they're depending on very specific parts, then maybe those parts have been harder to come by. Maybe their original supply chain died. I don't fucking know. It sucks. I mean, before like a whole bunch of the comments I would get on my videos is like, I want this. Once you check the price, never will own it. And I hate that because, it wasn't an easy decision for me to buy this in the first place. It's just not something like one just decides to buy on a whim, especially not now with the price. But yeah, it's an expensive piece of gear. But I've gotten so much out of it, so I don't know what to say.
Yeah, one of the things I hear a lot is, I'm considering buying an OP1 or whatever the case may be, but it's so expensive. Like, is it worth it compared, why should I get that when I could get, Electron device or whatever the case may be? It's just not worth it, because of the cost. So
okay, so wait, hold on. Yeah, there's this thing that goes around in the synth community. I've seen a lot, and it's not just the synth community. I think it started in like maybe the mobile phone market or something like that. But the question of something, is it worth it, with gigantic quotation marks around it, and like when people say you could get all of this other gear for the same amount of price, I mean, you have like. I think a lot of the times when people make that kind of comparison, and I'm not saying that you are, because you actually know what the OP1 can do.
Totally.
But they're not thinking about what the OP1 can do. A lot of them haven't used it. They don't know like how much they've packed in there. It is expensive. Anything over $1,000, I mean, something over like $200 to an extent is expensive for a lot of people. So I just wish that people would make less uninformed, opinionated posts about the price on it if they haven't used it and they don't understand what it's capable of. And it's a tougher pill to swallow, I will agree, in the way that Teenage Engineering presented the whole thing. They kind of they shot themselves in the foot the way they kind of marketed the price change, and that caused a lot of people to sort of be annoyed with them, and that's legitimate.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people were turned off by the whole, hey, don't pay these crazy prices on eBay and everything for these things. No one should have to pay that price. And then they turn around and it's like, yeah, the OP1's back and it's now $1,300. Yeah, almost twice as much.
Yeah,
as, what you'd expect to pay for it.
But I guess the question is, like, does that really hurt their bottom line? Or does that keep people from buying an OP1 if they want it? I don't think people complaining about the price of something keeps people from actually purchasing it if they really want it.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to stop buying OP1s. I don't think that Teenage Engineering is in jeopardy of losing people buying their stuff.
Yeah, I hope so, because they've been doing cool stuff.
So if your OP1 broke, would you go out and get another one?
I would tell Teenage Engineering to send me one because I've probably sold a lot for them.
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, you're one of the reasons why I bought one, so
okay.
You sold me mine. If you want to look at it that way. So I recently saw on Instagram that I think a picture that you got a new motorcycle, a new bike. Are you a motorcycle guy?
Oh God, that thing. Okay, yeah. So I kind of got ahead of myself. I purchased the motorcycle before I learned to. I don't have my endorsement or anything. I take my class at the end of August. So yeah, I got a Honda CB500F. It's very pretty. It's terrifying. I've been taking it out in the driveway and just like getting it into first gear and kind of like moving it up and down the driveway. I'm a cyclist, like a bicyclist, so I'm used. I thought it was going to be an easy translation, but that thing, it's so powerful. It's like it's going to take a lot to get used to. The course is going to help. I'm excited about that, but I have a really healthy sort of apprehension right now as to whether or not I've made the right decision.
That's cool, man. No, I used to ride a bike as well. As a matter of fact, I used to commute about 160 round trip miles per day on a Triumph Bonneville.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that was my deal. So, Jeremy, any musical projects or new albums or anything you're working on, videos, stuff you can talk about coming up? Any shows or anything coming up?
So no shows. I don't really do live stuff. I could at this point. I think with like the OPZ, which is awesome. Or I could probably come up with something with the Digitech and Digitone, which would be cool. So no shows. No album until 2020 because I'm gonna do the sort of like release the OP1 videos, release the tracks onto Patreon, and then once I have enough between the OP1 songs and unreleased stuff and stuff like that, I'll master it and put it all together. So that'll be 2020 sometime. I do have another round of YouTube library music coming out. I've done two sets of 10 tracks for them already. So this is like tracks that you can use in your YouTube videos free of charge and royalty free. You don't get like any copyright strikes or anything. So I did another round of those. They're really cool. They're going to come out in September, I think. So I'll have some videos about that. Yeah,
that's really awesome about the YouTube library. I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, it's been one of my favorite things to work on in the last year or two.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's really cool when you have a big company, especially like YouTube, coming to you and commissioning work or saying, hey, can you actually do some of your music for us in this way? So
I mean, I can say I'm a professional musician. Like, I can actually say that, which is kind of insane.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome. So, Jeremy, what advice would you give to a new OPZ or OP1 user, a pocket operator maybe, somebody that has, they've watched your videos, they've seen other people's videos, they're super inspired to go get one of these things, they spend the money, they buy the device, and then they bring it home and they're confused by it and it's sitting in front of the table in front of them and they're like, okay, what do I do with this thing now?
Well, with the pocket well, first of all, let's acknowledge that all of these things are extremely portable. So when I got my OP1, I was living on my own at the time, and instead of reading at night, I brought it into bed with me in like that 30 minutes, 45 minutes before I went to sleep, and just like for a week, that was my baby, and I was like playing with it before I went to sleep, and I couldn't put it down. I wanted to learn it, and so that was my way of just like blitzing through the learning curve with the whole thing. But that was driven by my desire for that. So if you're sitting there and you're frustrated by the device, it is portable, so you can take it with you if you have a commute on a bus, if you have something like that, a place where you can like sort of maybe some liminal space where you can focus on it without having to like feel pressure to learn it. Maybe that's a good way to give it some time. Read the manual. Teenage Engineering has some really, really well done guides on their website with like they're extremely well written and well laid out with lots of pictures and stuff like that. I reference them for the pocket operators like constantly when I was first learning them, and then you'll find as you like either you read the guide all the way through, or what I did was I would play with it until I found something that I didn't know how to do, and then I would go to the guide and look it up, and then inadvertently, while I was looking that thing up, I'd see something else that I was like, oh, it does that too. Okay, so that's how you do that. So I firmly believe in learning via hitting a wall and then then going to reference how to get past that wall, because that way you don't feel overwhelmed with having to learn everything at once. So like with the OP1, it does so much, like, so you can just sit there and play with it, and then you're like, okay, well, how do I do this now? I want to like maybe overdub something to the tape or something like that, and then you go look that up, and then you do it, and then as you grow with your process with the device, you get the knowledge to help you grow as you go look it up. That's kind of how I would suggest doing it.
Right. No, that's kind of how I do it too. I mean, when I first got the thing, I'd hit a wall, I'd get to a point where I couldn't figure it out, and I'd go straight to the manual, and look it up in the manual to see if there's anything, and like you said, you'll find other stuff as well.
Yeah.
You just gotta not be lazy and go pick up the manual. So,
the important other side of that, besides just sort of like you must comply to the manufacturer's way of doing a thing, is you learn at your own pace. You decide when you need to look something up, because you're deciding when you need to do something you haven't done before on it. The pocket operators, you'll probably only have to do that like 4 times to get the whole thing down, and then you maybe have to reference it down the line if you're not using like one function all the time and you've forgotten how it works. OPZ was surprisingly, like, I think it took a week before I understood how it worked.
A week.
And
yeah, so I recently saw the videos that you did on the OPZ. I think it was the first 7 days with the with the OPZ, and I'm looking at it like, how in the hell after 7 days is this guy? I mean, is this where he's at with this thing, and this is where I'm at? And I
had read a lot about it leading up. I mean, I had read the manual before I even got it. That's usually what I do with something I'm excited about. But yeah, I mean, they're crazy capable boxes.
Absolutely. Okay, so
yes.
Are you ready for the last bit of hard-hitting journalism here? Like, very serious last question. Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis?
Oh, that's tough. I had a Sega Master System as a kid, and then my friend had a Super Nintendo.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, it's a tough one, isn't it? You weren't ready for this.
It is. There's so many good games for Super Nintendo, but I want to say Sega Genesis. I'm going to say Sega Genesis.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. I just have to, I have to have a friend that has the Nintendo if I'm going to say that, though, so we can like swap.
There you go. Best of both worlds. Best of both worlds. I used to talk to a coworker about this. Growing up, you're either a Nintendo kid or a Sega kid, and it kind of helps create who you are.
I never really thought about that, and now Sega's gone, which is really strange to think about.
Yeah,
they just make games.
Yep. All right, well, my guest today, guys, has been Jeremy Blake, also known as Red Means Recording. You can find him pretty much everywhere on the internet, YouTube. Just do a Google search and you'll find him. Soundvision.bandcamp.com is his Bandcamp to get his stuff. Support him on Patreon, please, and definitely go out and subscribe to his YouTube channel, Red Means Recording. Jeremy, thanks so much, man. It means a lot that you came on the show today.
Yeah, thank you. This has been really fun.
Guys, my interview with Jeremy featured some of his music, but I wanted to play you one of his songs. This is Acceptance by Red Means Recording, Jeremy Blake. got a particularly cool email this week from an OP Forums user, InstantJuggler. And InstantJuggler, thanks so much for sending this in to me. It's about a OP1 experiment that he conducted using some Lego stuff, and he sent me a sound clip so you guys can actually hear what it sounds like at the end. So I'll read you what InstantJuggler wrote to me. I thought it was really amazing when TE released all the accessories for the OP1. I tried to explore each of them, and of course wanted to make use of their Lego attachments for the encoders. My main concept was to turn more than one encoder at a time, while only using one hand. I thought this could bring some non-intuitive behavior to the synth that I otherwise couldn't accomplish without the Lego accessories. The first challenge was to source Lego gears, which were exact right size to connect all 4 encoders. After fixing the hardware, I then tried to explore behaviors which would take advantage of the situation. Kind of hard consciously think about, since every other encoder turns the opposite direction due to the configuration. I finally came across this patch, documented in the video. I had to first tweak the parameters without the Lego gears attached, and once the individual encoders were in place, I could add the gears and cycle through from silence, back to silence again, just by turning one of the encoders. Even if I had used both hands, I could not have replicated this phenomenon. It's absolutely just a proof of concept, and clearly not a deep musical exploration, but I found it fascinating that I could cycle through a whole progression back to the beginning. It's a kind of a generative music, or a way to randomize hardware behavior in a small way, and that's exactly the thing which makes TE so much fun, along with all the other great accessories they released for the OP1. I know there are a couple demo videos in which Lego Mindstorm motor was hooked up to the Lego attachments, but I'd love to see any other similar experiments out there. So I'll play the sound from that video. Check this out. You guys, I highly recommend you go check that video out. It's a real short video. It's about 40 seconds long on YouTube. Just search OP-1 Lego song, and I'll also put the link in the notes for the podcast. Thanks again so much to OP Forums user InstantJuggler for the submission. Next up, we have an absolutely gorgeous piece from one of my favorite YouTubers and people on Instagram that I follow. This is Dance Ambience from Heymun. So that was Dance Ambience by Heymun. Absolutely one of my favorite artists that I've found on Instagram and YouTube. Made completely with the OP1, but fed through Ableton Live for post-production. And you can find that video on YouTube. I'll have the link in the show notes. Find Heymun Music on Instagram. It's at HEYMUN Music. Definitely check out Heymun. I'll also post a link to her channel. So let's switch gears now to another form of experimentation with the OP1. This is a track called Cyberklops from the artist Blumquist, and this is from Blumquist's album Blumtwist. So again, that was Cyberklops from Blumquist. And Blumquist made this album using entirely the OP1. So this is an OP1 album. I highly suggest you go check it out. Really cool stuff there. And you can find Blumquist on the internets. He's from Nuremberg, Germany. Great mastering job on this. Check out blumquist.bandcamp.com, BLUMQUIST.bandcamp.com, and you know where to find the link. So here's another really pretty piece from Nosirah, another one of my favorite artists that I've found on Instagram and makes YouTube videos. Nosirah is from Virginia. This is his piece called OP1 plus PO32 plus tape loop. So you can kind of guess what the instrumentation is on this. Let's give it a listen. Beautiful stuff. Check out Nosirah on Instagram. It's at NOSIRAH.music. Nosirah.music on Instagram. He also has Nosirah.bandcamp.com. Definitely check out his stuff. Really pretty stuff. So here's another really great ambient artist that uses a lot of teenage engineering stuff to make their music. This is Perplex On with OPZ's First Warm Summer. Was OPZ's First Warm Summer by Perplex On. You can find out more about Perplex On his YouTube channel. I'll put the link in the podcast notes. And look up Perplex On Instagram. It's great stuff. Okay, friends, well, that's going to do it for episode 3. Thank you so much for joining today. Big shout out and thank you so much to friend of the show, Jeremy Blake, Red Means Recording, for sitting in for our first interview. That was really great. Looking forward to episode 4. We're going to have some music from Johnny B. Good. We're going to have some music from Ian Air, Jordan Fitzman, Bismania, Grumpy Snorlax. A lot of good stuff. So you guys will want to check in for that. My name's Field Plan. If you want to contact me, send me an email at smalloperationspodcast@gmail.com. Otherwise, please follow me on Instagram. I like to repost a lot of good stuff when I find it. And I'm also on Twitter @smalloperations. Feel free to send comments any way you can get a hold of me. Twitter, Instagram, email. Let me know how you feel about the show. If you know anyone else that's into teenage engineering gear or anything like that, turn them on to the podcast. Like to try to get as many subscribers as possible, spread the word, and hopefully continue to grow the community. So thanks very much, everybody. Until next time, take care, small ops. Small operations.